What if I told you that a woman can sense a man's weakness before he even utters a word? It's not something you can mask with flashy clothes or a confident grin. It's in the way you stand, the way you move, the way you exist in the world. Most men are completely unaware of these subtle cues, but women? They pick up on them in an instant. This isn't just a hunch, it's psychology. Evolution has hardwired women to seek strength, not brute force or dominance, but resilience, leadership, and unwavering self-assurance. When a man lacks these qualities, it's like a silent alarm ringing in her subconscious. But here's the truth: weakness isn't what you think it is. It's not about failing or making mistakes. Those are stepping stones to growth. True weakness is being unable to handle adversity, constantly seeking validation, and losing control over your emotions. A strong man isn't loud or aggressive, he is composed. As Stoics, we understand that real strength comes from within. It's not about proving yourself to the world, it's about mastering your mind, your emotions, and your reactions. Today we're uncovering 7 subtle ways women perceive weakness in a man, often before he even realizes it. Recognize these patterns, eliminate them, and watch how the way people respond to you completely shifts. 1. You crave constant validation. One of the most obvious signs of weakness is needing approval to feel worthy. Women can sense when your confidence is tied to their attention or praise, and nothing turns them off faster. Psychologists call this an external locus of control, where your sense of self depends on others instead of your own values. Men who constantly seek validation are like empty cups, waiting for someone else to pour meaning into them. And that desperation? It's obvious. It shows up when you fish for compliments. Do you think I did a good job? Or when you change your opinions just to avoid conflict. Or when you anxiously wait for text replies and social media likes. But true strength comes from within. As Epictetus put it, seek not the good in external things, seek it within yourselves. Instead of chasing approval, set your own standards for success. Ask yourself, did I act with integrity today? Did I stay true to my values? If the answer is yes, you don't need applause. Women are drawn to men who are secure in themselves, who don't need constant reassurance because they already know who they are. When you stop looking outward for approval and start trusting yourself, you radiate strength without even trying. 2. You let your emotions control you. A man who can't master his emotions is like a ship drifting without direction. Women are highly attuned to emotional instability, whether it's bursts of anger, jealousy, or insecurity. These reactions don't just signal weakness, they scream a lack of self-control. Emotional volatility usually stems from a lack of self-awareness and ineffective coping mechanisms. Instead of handling emotions with composure, you react on impulse, letting fear or ego take the wheel. How does this show up? You get defensive the moment someone criticizes you. You blow minor inconveniences out of proportion. Jealousy takes over when she talks to other men. The Stoic solution? Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." In other words, your emotions aren't facts, they're just fleeting reactions to outside events. True emotional mastery comes from recognizing your feelings without being controlled by them. When anger or insecurity rises, try this. Pause. Breathe. Observe the emotion, without reacting to it. Over time, this builds a level of calm and resilience that women find incredibly attractive. A man who can stay composed under pressure radiates a power far greater than any physical display of strength. 3. You run from conflict. Weak men shy away from confrontation, believing that being agreeable makes them more likable. They think saying yes to everything will win people over. But women? They see through it instantly. Instead of admiration, this kind of passivity breeds disrespect. In psychology, this is known as submissive communication, where you push your own needs aside just to keep the peace. But here's the problem. It doesn't just cause frustration within you, it also makes others lose faith in you. How does this show up? You nod in agreement even when you disagree deep down. You apologize constantly even when you haven't done anything wrong. You fold under pressure the moment someone pushes back. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The goal in life isn't to follow the crowd, but to avoid joining the ranks of the misguided." In other words, real strength isn't about blending in, it's about standing firm. Being stoic doesn't mean dodging conflict. It means handling it with poise and intelligence. Assertive communication is key. Heavy checkmark: state your thoughts with clarity and confidence. Heavy checkmark: defend your stance without being hostile. Heavy checkmark: recognize when to speak up, and when silence holds more power. Women respect men who stand by their beliefs without fear. Strength isn't about overpowering others, it's about having the courage to face resistance without losing yourself. For you refuse to own your mistakes. A man who constantly dodges responsibility might as well be wearing a sign that says, "I'm not in control of my life." Nothing is more off-putting than someone who plays the victim, blaming circumstances, other people, or bad luck instead of stepping up and taking ownership. This behavior stems from a fragile sense of self. When failure strikes, instead of reflecting and adapting, you look for an external scapegoat. It's a coping mechanism, a way to protect your ego from the uncomfortable truth. Many of your problems are self-inflicted. Here's the real issue. By refusing to take accountability, you also surrender your ability to change. Women see this clearly. They know that a man who shifts blame will never evolve, never improve, and never meet challenges head-on. Instead, he stays stuck, drowning in excuses rather than pushing forward. Signs you might be stuck in this cycle. You complain about your job, your boss, or your coworkers, but never take action to change your situation. You blame your ex for past relationship failures, without ever reflecting on your own role. You credit your lack of success to bad luck rather than personal choices and effort. Women respect men who own their decisions because accountability signals strength, maturity, and self-awareness. It shows that you have the backbone to face setbacks, learn from them, and grow. On the flip side, a man who refuses to take responsibility becomes stagnant, powerless, and ultimately forgettable. 5. You often talk more than you act. There's a reason a lion doesn't need to announce it's a lion, it just is. Yet too many men fall into the trap of endless talking, boasting about their dreams, plans, and abilities while doing little to back them up. Women notice this immediately. They hear the big promises, the grand declarations, and the endless someday plans, and they know it's all just empty words. Why does this signal weakness? Because talk without action is insecurity in disguise, a way to seek validation through words rather than results. A man who constantly talks but never acts isn't just fooling others. He's trying to convince himself that he's capable. Psychologists call this impression management, the urge to shape how people see you. But here's the irony. The more you talk about what you're going to do, the less credible you become. Words are cheap. Action is rare. Women respect men who don't just make promises, they deliver. When a woman hears a man constantly brag about future successes, she instantly sees someone lacking discipline and follow-through. He's not a builder, he's a dreamer stuck in idle fantasy. Signs you're falling into this trap. You constantly tell people about your goals but never take real steps toward them. You exaggerate your achievements to seem more impressive. You make promises you can't, or won't, keep. A man who talks more than he acts becomes predictable and untrustworthy. Women are naturally drawn to men who do the opposite. Those who move in silence, letting their actions speak louder than their words. 6. You can't say no. A man who struggles to say no is a man without boundaries, and women pick up on this instantly. At first, your willingness to accommodate might seem admirable, but over time, it reveals something deeper, a lack of self-respect. Saying yes to everything doesn't make you kind or generous, it makes you spineless. You become a people pleaser, bending over backward to gain approval and avoid conflict. But here's the reality. People, including women, don't respect those who can't stand up for themselves. The inability to say no is rooted in fear. Fear of rejection, fear of disappointing others, fear of confrontation. But this constant compliance creates a vicious cycle. The more you say yes to things you don't want to do, the more people expect it from you. Eventually, you lose control of your own life, becoming a passive follower rather than a decisive leader. Signs you might be stuck in this pattern. You agree to events or favors, even when you're exhausted or uninterested. You allow others to drain your time and energy without pushing back. You avoid saying no because you don't want to seem rude or selfish. Women respect men who set clear boundaries. 7. You have no sense of purpose. One of the clearest signs of weakness is a man without direction. Someone drifting aimlessly through life, lacking drive or ambition. Women are naturally drawn to men who live with intent, who wake up each day with a mission, a passion, or a sense of purpose. But a man without purpose? He fades into the background, unnoticed, blending in with the countless others just going through the motions. Purpose isn't about chasing fame, fortune, or status. It's about having something that fuels you, a reason to push forward, to grow, to build. Without it, life becomes empty, filled with distractions and meaningless indulgences. A man lacking purpose often shows it in his daily habits. He spends hours scrolling social media or binge-watching TV, but never feels accomplished. He drifts from one job to another with no real career path or ambition. He prioritizes short-term pleasures, partying, casual flings, material possessions, over long-term growth. Women can sense this lack of purpose without you even saying a word. It's in how you move, how you speak, and how you carry yourself. It signals stagnation, a man who isn't striving for something greater. But the moment a man finds his purpose, everything shifts. His presence becomes magnetic. He speaks with conviction. He stops seeking validation because his fulfillment comes from within. Attraction isn't just about looks or charm, it's about the energy you bring into the world. And purpose? That's the foundation of it all. Without it, you become forgettable. With it, you become unforgettable. So, there you have it, 7 ways women recognize weakness before you even realize it yourself. But here's the key, this isn't about chasing approval or changing for others. It's about self-mastery. The Stoic path teaches that true strength comes from within. When you develop emotional control, confidence backed by action, and a clear sense of purpose, you don't need to prove your worth. It speaks for itself. Women notice it. People respect it. And most importantly, you respect yourself. If today's video resonated with you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Our mission is to help you navigate life with wisdom, strength, and purpose. Stay focused, stay disciplined, and I'll catch you in the next one.